Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. And I'm so glad to have you here today. And if you're listening to this on Podomatic, you can also find this show on iTunes, on Spotify, and iHeartRadio, to name a few. You can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com, and there you can click on the podcast item in the menu, and you will see a list of platforms that the show is on. And usually gets shared to those platforms I mentioned, and also to YouTube and to LinkedIn and Google Play. So there's different ways that you can listen to the show. And also, if you're listening on iTunes, it would be great if you can share your feedback. If you enjoyed what you've heard, please leave it 5 stars. Or, also if you leave any kind of other feedback, that's great. It always helps the shows to be found by more listeners. And also you can leave feedback on womenentrepreneursecrets.com. And if you are interested in being a guest, there's information there if you can download the guidelines. And also if you have any guest posts you'd like to share, you can also find out more about that there as well. And don't forget to visit my site, dbaileycoach.com, and you can find out more about some online courses that I have and also book coaching services that I have as well. So there's information there you can find out. And you can go to my fiction site, brightstreetbooks.com, and you can find out about my books there that I have I've been publishing over the years. And if you like some nice fiction reading, you can check that out and see what I have to offer you. So that is it for now concerning the websites for the show and my website. And let's get started with my guest. Karen Donaldson is an award-winning #1 multi-best-selling author of 3 books. Her latest, Speak Like You Breathe. She's also the owner of Karen Donaldson Incorporated, and is a certified confidence coach, as well as communications and body language expert. She's been speaking and coaching for over 20 years, showing individuals exactly how they take powerful action and own their voice. She's also the secret weapon behind many CEOs, senior executives, successful entrepreneurs, and politicians across North America and the UK. Karen has been a guest expert in both local and national media, and is a sought-after leader in her industry. So welcome to the show, Karen. Really glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here, Deborah. I am so excited.
Yes, and I am too, because like I said, I always like to hear what other entrepreneurs are doing and how they got into what they're doing, and it's just I always learn so much, and I know the listeners do as well. So, we're going to start like I usually do and ask about how you got started in personal coaching.
Oh, for sure. That's a great question. And everyone does have a backstory. And here's mine. And I say my backstory has built what I have right now. But essentially, as you just shared, I'm a communication, confidence, and body language coach. And it kind of found me. I mean, my last year of high school, I was a really friendly person. I had always been throughout my years of high school. And my last year, I found out I was pregnant right after Christmas. Mm-hmm. And right before Christmas, I had received a full scholarship to a U.S. school. And my whole school was excited. My teachers were excited. The principals were excited. And I remember getting the letter because at that time it came to the school. And when my teacher brought it to me, I ran around the school like an Olympian, and like I got people from all the classes and we ran around. It was in those times when I was in high school, this might age me, Deb, but nonetheless, the cliques weren't such a big thing. Like everyone just supported everyone. So nonetheless, found out that I got the scholarship, went away for Christmas break, found out I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. When I came back and people found out, I lost my friends. I lost the faith of all the teachers. All of my family was disappointed outside of my mom. And at that point, I had 3 friends left in the school and my mom who was supporting me. And I was going to school, and you can just imagine at that time, my self-confidence was totally down in the pits. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you what happened here, Deb. There's one day I was walking home and I stopped in the bus shelter that I passed every day and I saw my reflection. And here's what I said to myself. Karen, you are not contagious. You're not diseased and you're not dying. You are only pregnant. Mm-hmm. Prior to being pregnant, you were a great student, a great friend, a great sister. And if people want to choose to not believe that, that's on them. You have to stop allowing the words of others to define you and start defining yourself. And in that moment, that from the next day on, I came back with kind of a new mindset of, you know what, it is your choice. You don't have to like me, or you can choose because I'm pregnant not to hang around with me. But here's the biggest thing. I like and love me. So I came back to school, head on strong, went to all my classes. And that year I graduated valedictorian, 8 months pregnant, crossing the stage, the President's Award, the Athletic Award, all of my peers and teachers give me a standing ovation because I showed up as who I was in September, regardless if I was pregnant or not. And from that year on, I was invited out to speak on self-leadership and perseverance. And it started with high schools. Then it went to colleges and universities. Then all of a sudden I was speaking at corporate events, then leadership retreats. And that's where my coaching started. I started to speak on stages. Then people used to hire me and say, could you kind of do a half day session with me? Could you come in and work with my team? And here's the thing, Deb, and I think this might be familiar for a lot of entrepreneurs. After I left high school, I also received some other acceptance letters to local universities, and I marched into the dean's office and I asked them to defer my acceptance because I was pregnant and I wanted to stay home with my daughter, and they said yes. So I have a Bachelor of Applied Science, which has nothing to do with what I do now as a communication, confidence, and body language coach. Does it sound familiar? Have you heard this before? This
oh my God.
And you know what? From there it was born. My last job, I'm from Canada, and my last job, full-time job was with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Ontario. And I was their senior partnership specialist. So I traveled the province, accepted awards on their behalf, delivered workshops and keynotes on their behalf. And there was one person who I sat at the table with, and he was a CEO. And he finally saw me speak when I was accepting an award on behalf of the foundation. And he came up to me and was like, Karen, who taught you to speak like that? And then I said, well, no one did. I was just kind of self-taught. He's like, it's okay. Don't worry. No, it doesn't matter how much they cost. I can afford it. I can get it done. And I said, listen, no, it's just me of years of learning, me learning how to connect with people, me working with different audiences. And then he hired me on the spot to become his public speaking coach.
Wow.
And it moved from CEO and his peers seeing him to the referrals coming. And I went from CEOs to all C-level suite executives to senior managers. Then I got a call from a politician. Then I was found, people in the UK were finding me, people in the US were finding me. And that's how my public speaking coaching got started. But I always had been speaking on effective communication, how to build a mindset. And when you have a strong mindset, you can't do anything but, exude that on other people. So that's where it all began. I was a young mom and with her head on strong, and I just lived in the words that words of others don't define me. I do.
Wow.
And that's where it is. That is it.
Wow, that's such a powerful story. Definitely. Yeah. Because you wouldn't think that you could be able to get that out of what seemed to be a defeat based on how people were treating you and
Definitely.
how you could have started to think about yourself.
No, it's so
Yeah.
true. It's always a reminder that no
Mhm.
matter your circumstances or experience, your voice does matter if you believe it to be true for you.
That's true. That's very important. Wow. That's a very, very powerful and inspirational story. I think. I'm sure that everyone listening is going to take a lot from that and see how you could turn something around and really build something
Definitely.
you didn't even know was going to happen. But
Definitely.
with your confidence and how you're carrying yourself out in the world and creating this, there's a lot of women out here, particularly female entrepreneurs, and a lot of them have to deal with the male business world.
That's right. That's right. It is what it is.
So, what are some things do you think that we aren't doing right in these environments? And we try to communicate in them, and our styles are different.
Definitely.
What are some things that you would point out?
Well, that's a wonderful question. I believe the business world is male dominated. It's not right or wrong, but it doesn't mean there's less of a place for us. So that's one of the first things, is understanding that it's male dominated, but who cares? Where's your place? Like, I'm literally saying to yourself, okay, I got it. Statistics say that. But who cares? What am I choosing to focus on? But when it comes to communication, you're absolutely right. There's a difference between the way men communicate and females communicate. And as an entrepreneur in the business world, we have to stand in our own voice and stand in our own truth. And here's one of the things that I think we need to do a bit stronger, is that females are passive communicators. Right? And we allow that whole concept of we don't want to be pushy to precede what we need to be saying out in the world to our clients in a manner that's direct. Right? So when it comes to fixing it, I'm all about identifying what's not working and doing it better. You want to let go of that passivity. Whatever you're thinking needs to be heard, because you have to remember and put this in your mind. What you have to say has a potential to impact so many people. And when we don't speak up, we're actually being selfish. Our egos have taken over. So letting go of the passive communication, forget about being pushy, and taking a stand for helping people based on whatever your expertise is. So that's one thing. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. There's one other thing that I do want to share, is one of the other reasons we somewhat hold back and we're hesitant as into making these big claims and statements is we don't want to be called the B factor. And Deborah, I'm not sure if I can say this, but it's the bitch factor.
Yes, you can.
Right? Thank you.
Yes.
And here's how I define the B factor. And I talk about this in my book, Speak Like You Breathe. You see, people want you to show up confidently, but when you do, you're deemed as aggressive and you're deemed as a bitch. Right? And here's what I tell my ladies when I work with my female entrepreneurs or C-level suite executives. Ladies, owning our voice and confidence does not equal aggressive and bitchy. And those who are the actual name callers are the ones who have something to work out with themselves, not us as confident females. So we have to release these labels, right? And we have to walk in the world with a bigger sense of who can I help? How can I help them? I need to speak up, because that's exactly why we got started in business. We wanted to help more people and build something for ourselves. And we build something for ourselves by leading by example. So ladies, we need to speak up. If someone wants to call you a bitch, you're too aggressive, you're too loud, that's on them, not on you, right? Words of others don't define us unless we allow them to.
Wow.
Fun stuff, huh?
Yes, that's it. A lot of times women will hold back and, they don't want to appear to be aggressive. And then at the same time, interestingly enough, I will hear women talk about how they think women bosses are tough, I guess, on other women. And it's, the negativity that I hear from women, female bosses, it's like, oh, this isn't good.
And the interesting thing, it's sad. It's unfortunate, right? I say it's sad and unfortunate, but it is what it is, because a lot of the time when I make that statement, people assume it's men. No, sometimes it's our own woman, our own colleagues calling us the B word, right?
Yeah.
And I always go back to, everyone's entitled to their opinion, as long as you know you're standing your worth, especially as an entrepreneur, because I think we have a couple other barriers to cross over, and we have to bring in our own clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our income's based on whatever we perform, how we perform, or what we do. So we truly have to take a stand and allow that person to deal with whatever they need to deal with as you continue to help people.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So we're, kind of covering how these things can be challenging for women, whether it's, the men or possibly other women. So,
Yes.
What are some tips you can share for navigating?
Well, here's the thing. My whole intention, especially we're talking women here, ladies, I love us to death. I always want to, I do body language coaching, right? And I want to ensure that we have the tools so we show up not only verbally powerfully, but non-verbally powerfully. So what I want to share with you is there's a few body language mistakes that we're making. And it's something that's inherent in females that I want to bring to everyone's attention because it can shift everything, right? So one of the things that we do with females is that we excessively nod our head, right? And here's why we do it. During a conversation, when we're part of a conversation, whether we're speaking or not, we often nod our head just to show that we're understanding and we're truly hearing what someone else is saying. And I want you to think back to one of your last conversations, whether it be a professional or personal conversation. We do overly nod our head, but we do so to show that we're listening and we're here and we're present. Now, when it comes to subconscious signals, overly nodding is actually a sign of tongue twister, submissiveness. And it's a sign of weakness and passivity, right? So here's what I encourage women to do instead. Start to be intentional with when you nod your head. Not when you're in agreement of something, more so to just receive information, right? So just calm down with the automated over nodding. And what it helps you do is you're now perceived as more confident and more powerful and more decisive. So just watch it over the next few days. Just watch how often you nod during a conversation. And then now turn it over and be more intentional with it. And so that's kind of a power movement for female entrepreneurs, especially when we're negotiating, when we're closing a deal, when we're around a table with, mixed genders, both men and female. If you actually watch men, they don't do this, right? They nod their head when they're saying yes to something or they're making a decision. And we want to come on the same plane and be just as powerful. So I want us to be attuned to that we have to kind of stop with a kind of call it bobblehead as well. Just be intentional with your nodding. And it's funny to watch. It's so funny to watch. I did the exercise. I have 2 daughters and a son, and I did it with them. They're like, "What are you talking about?" And as I spoke, they were nodding their head. And I said, "See?" And my son sat there listening.
Oh my God.
Yeah, try it out. These small nuances make such a difference, especially as a female entrepreneur in the world.
Oh
yes,
my God.
For sure.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
Goodness.
So, but I guess that, we're talking about women's communication styles and men, and there's definitely, different, ways that happens. And I could certainly tell from being on a conference call, where I remember this conference call that I was on a few months ago, and the woman wanted, like say she wants a report that has upcoming things in the release. And they had to talk for an hour. It went around and around and around. The other men said whatever. And then at the end of the meeting, one man just repeats exactly what she asked for at the beginning.
Right.
I was like, what?
Yes.
What? I mean, she said that.
Yes, she did.
And I was just amazed because I said, do they even realize that they just are repeating what she asked for in the beginning, and they went around to try to discuss if they could do it, couldn't, well, we should do this, and it comes right back to what she requested. So, I mean, I know there's differences in how we communicate.
Right.
So, what are some things that you notice?
Definitely. Good question. Here's the thing. And this is just an inherent difference. But now that we know that we are going into a place where we're meeting and we want to be seen as a powerful person, remember, powerful does not equal aggressive and bitchy. It means you own your spaces. We need to be a lot more clear with our messaging. So here's what happens. When women share something, they share it and the rationale behind. And sometimes that rationale takes a little bit longer. So you lose the strength of what's being said. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at it, the man, as you just said, the man says the exact same thing and he's finished. So we have a tendency to over-explain and be apologetic around why we've made this decision, where our idea came from, or why we believe our idea is the best fit. You know, here are some things that you want to think of when you're sitting up in a meeting, you're sharing, whether it's, you know, I'll say this for face-to-face because I work with people when I do coaching, how to show up powerfully in online meeting settings, which is slightly different because you have the barrier of your screen and people being virtual. But when you're in the same space, here's what I tell people to do. If you want to show up powerfully and be seen as more and be taken more seriously, you want to sit at the edge of your chair. You want to ensure that your back is straight. And one of the quickest ways to do that is you want to straighten up from the base of your back. So where your hips join the bottom of your spine and the base of your neck. So you're sitting tall, as if someone had a string at the top of your head and was pulling up, right? And you want to lean into the table, right? Now, when you lean into the table and if you put your arms on the table, not your elbows, your forearms, just like you're dining, no elbows on the table, but nonetheless, and you're leaning in, you're actually going to wait until everyone stops speaking for you to speak. Because here's where we have to start as women. We have to start commanding attention. And we command attention, number one, with our physicality, and number two, with the statements that we make. We want to ensure that it's more concise. Just a little while ago, I had a call from a client. I was out coaching in Philadelphia, and she called and she said that she's a senior manager as well, sales team meeting with all the senior managers, and people were talking over her. So I went through this exact same exercise, sitting up, leaning in, hands there, commanding attention by using interruption phrases. So this is where we're concise, and sometimes we do have to interrupt. Mm-hmm. Just as a human, as a female, the pitch of our voice is higher, but our voices are actually lower than that of a man's. So we want to ensure that we're bringing enough oxygen into our lungs by sitting up straight, but using interruption phrases such as, there's something I'd like to share, and you pause until you have everyone's attention, and then you continue. Or another interruption phrase such as, I have a thought. You look around intentionally in people's eyes to ensure that everyone's pausing with you, and then you share your statement. So our intention is never to talk over. Our intention is always to command attention. And that's just a quick strategy. You use an interruption phrase. You intentionally make eye contact with people around the room, pause until the room's quieted down, and make your statement. Right? There's a time to tell a story, and there are times where you're not telling a story. You'll know when it's a fit, but share what you're sharing. But you want to ensure that everyone's attention is on you. And that's something we have to command. We truly do. We truly do. All right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point, because a lot of times that is not what's happening. A person is shrinking back and kind of waiting.
Yes, we are. And, it's a good thing in certain settings. Females are accommodating, but when we want to stand out, we want to stand up, or we want to make big movements, there's times where we have to just stand and hold our space. And that actually brings me to another thing. One of the things that women do is that we come in and we don't take up a lot of space. So we'll come to the table and we'll put our things in a nice pile and we'll be small. I want you to physically, ladies, we need to physically take up more space. So once again, body language, as I just shared, you're sitting upright with your papers, your pen. You might have a phone or an iPad or a pad of paper. I want you to spread out. The person who is most spread out on the table owns the space. This is subconscious. So I don't want you to make yourself small. I don't want you to shrink. I want you to show up physically, and I want you to spread out your things on the table. It's a subconscious cue that alludes to power, right? So take up more space in your physicality. That's something else that's quite important as well.
That's
Yes.
true, because I think a lot of times people don't want to take up too much space. They don't want to make a mess.
Exactly. And when was the last time men worried about taking up too much space and making themselves smaller? They don't. Right? Right, Deb? They just
You're
don't.
right. You're right.
We are accommodating. We'll push ourselves
You're
over.
right.
We'll make ourselves smaller.
You're right. You're right.
And it's not to say we're not going to be accommodating, but we're going to own our space as well. We can be accommodating and own our space and show up powerfully. And that's the whole intention.
Yeah, that's true. It can be done. So I think that's a wonderful message to share. So, but would you please tell us about your latest book, Speak Like You Breathe?
Absolutely. It's my third book. So excited. It launched just a few months ago, and it was a bestseller. So it's actually called Speak Like You Breathe. Straight talk to say what you mean, be heard, and get noticed. And the whole focus of the book is to really give entrepreneurs and individuals the tools so they can show up in the way they want to show up. And what I mean by that, Deb, is quite often we know what we want to say in our head, but what comes out of our mouth most of the time never matches that. Or we leave a setting where we say, oh my goodness, I should have said that. I wish I had said that. So how do we connect that mind to mouth paradigm? And that's what I talk about in this book. There's a chapter called Lady Talk, and it's just for the ladies. There's another chapter called Man Talk, and it's just for the gentlemen. And I always encourage both male and female to read both chapters because it's pretty enlightening, some of the things that I share in there. And I also share, we'll talk about body language, and it's just pretty simple tactics that we can use to own our own body language and read other people's body language, which is just as important. So, my book can be found on my website, which is called speakconfident.com. So you can jump there, grab the book. It's under $10. It will be your back pocket tool. And so far I've been receiving really good reviews and people are loving the content in it. It was meant to be a practical tool as well. So that's a bit about my book.
Definitely not your first book either. You have a lot of books out here, and I'm sure there'll be more, right?
Absolutely. That's my third book. All of them are on my website, speakconfident.com. This is the second to the series of Speak Like You Breathe, right? So it's perfect. I love it. I just want people to show up in the way they were meant to show up and refine their voice, because their voice matters and people are waiting for us to serve and support and help them. So now is not the time to play a small game.
Right.
Now's not the time.
Exactly. Sure. And also you said you have an app that people...
Oh, yes, I do. Excited about this. If you can't tell, Deb, I'm a screamer. My kids are like, Mom, are you screaming again? I'm like, yes, scream with me. Sorry. But I do. I have a new app. It's called Speak Confident, and it can be found in the App Store and on Google Play. And here's why I'm so excited about it. Number one, it is free. And I want to be your partner, your cheerleader, and your ally in your back pocket. So here's what's in it. There are quick reads and laser training videos to help you speak up in your professional settings, in your relationships, in the workplace. We talk about specific public speaking strategies if you're talking on stage. But at the same time, we talk about how to simply be a better communicator. So there's an area of quick reads. When I say quick read, 2 to 3 minutes. I know people don't have a lot of time. There are 30-second and 60-second training videos as well. And we're just about to include the next phase. And this is what I love. Have you ever gone to an event or you're going into a meeting to see a client, because we're talking about entrepreneurs, and you're a little bit nervous and you know that you want them as a client and your nerves are just at wit's end? There's one thing, because I feel like that sometimes, and I listen to myself. I'll tell you what I'm putting in this. We're putting this app as well. There will be an area where we've called it situational pep talks. So basically what I've done is this. There are little coaching sessions. They're 30 to 90-second pep talks to help prep you and get your mind in the game to go into a specific situation and win. So I have some pep talks that I've created. I have professional athletes who have created some pep talks. I have some celebrities. I have some kick-ass entrepreneurs who deal with relationships, mindset, everything. So you go back there and you pick the setting that you're going into. So say, for example, you need to go in and close a client, or you need to go and speak on stage. You can listen to this in your car. It's 30 to 90 seconds. Get your head in the game, get on stage, get in the meeting room, show up and close that client or connect with that audience. So that's another portal that's being launched in the next few weeks. So it's called Situational Pep Talks, as well as mini courses to really help you deepen your skill set so you can speak up powerfully in all settings. So that's what the Speak Confident app is. And it's in your app store and on Google Play. So go and get it today. Karen Donaldson in your back pocket.
Oh my God, that's terrific.
Yes.
Wow, that's really terrific. And I think that's the thing, we briefly touched on technology when we started, and that's the thing is that there's so many options now for you to get your message out there and reach people where they are,
Yes.
in any place that they are, and then I think the average person, and I mean not just mega corporations, but business people can now create these things or have these things created, because now we have the ability to do that. So you really can get out there and let people know what you've got and really work with them in many different ways. I think that's fantastic.
No, it is.
That's fantastic. So could you also share your websites and different places that people can find you?
Of course. Thanks for asking. So you can find me on my main website is www.karendonaldsoninc.com. And that's where you'll see me as you shared earlier. I am a keynote speaker as well, and my public speaking coaching is based there. Now, when it comes to my app and you wanting to speak confidently, you can go to www.speakconfident.com. And there's a free gift for everyone there. If you jump on speakconfident.com, I have 10 conversation starters that don't suck. My gift to you. We're always networking. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but I show you how to do it with ease. So jump on there for that. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram under this, The Real Karen Donaldson. That's it. Sorry, I was going to say .com, but there's none. So LinkedIn and Instagram is The Real Karen Donaldson, and Facebook, I'm at Karen Donaldson Inc. So let's connect there. I answer all of my DMs personally, but let's connect so I can follow you back, because that's how we grow. When women support women, and I'm your biggest supporter. I may not know you yet, but let's connect it and let's grow together. There's just too many opportunities for us not to be able to win together. And that's what I'm about.
Oh, wonderful. And you're right. That's so true. For people to make these connections, I think it's so important. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. But you've shared your story and everything that you've done. And what things can you share? What lessons learned can you share in terms of being an entrepreneur?
I think one of the first things is, no matter what stage you're at as an entrepreneur, it's really important to stop assimilating. I know during my first probably 3 years when I left my corporate job, I looked at all the other public speaking coaches online, and I said to myself, if they're doing it right, I better kind of replicate what they're doing. And that's not what's wanted in the marketplace. You and your unique assets and the way you do things, your differences are what's needed in your industry and out there in the world. So I'd say number one, I learned to stop assimilating and really love my assets. Quite often, Deb, when I go out and I'm referred as an executive or a senior executive public speaking coach, people don't expect me. And I'm going to call it like it is. I'm a person who talks about the elephant in the room. So I'm a Black female. I'm smaller in stature and I look younger than I actually am. So when I'm based on a referral and I go into the office, I often have the assistant look at me and ask me if I'm Karen Donaldson's assistant. Is Karen being dropped at the front? Am I Karen Donaldson's intern? Because apparently I don't look like a Karen Donaldson that could be a public speaking coach to a politician. Right? So we truly can't allow our differences to make us small. We have to allow our differences to power us up and make us larger, because I'm able to get the job done. So that's my difference, and I love and I own it. And now I'm known for that. I'm also called the untraditional communication and confidence coach, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm untraditional in so many ways, but I love it. So stop assimilating, right? Mm-hmm. Words of others don't define you unless you allow them to. So that's what I truly learned. I want to lead with my differences, and that's how I've been winning. And the other thing is, give more than you receive, because when you give, it comes back tenfold. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons I developed my Speak Confident app, because I found that there's a lot of people who can't work with me just from a price point, but my app is free. Mm-hmm. So if I can support you and help you build, then that's exactly what I want to do. As I shared, there's always an opportunity for all of us to win. So give more than you receive. As entrepreneurs, we have to remember when people are looking at our business or deciding if they want to work with us, mm-hmm. we have about 30 seconds of their time. Don't we want them to have our best stuff if they're going to make a decision? Mm-hmm. So stop saying, I don't want someone else to use it. I don't want to give them too much. Flip it. You actually do want to give them too much. You want to show them in those 15, 30 seconds that they're looking on your website or listening to something, a podcast, that you're a right fit for them and you can help them. So right. Give. Stop holding back. There's enough out there in the world. And ladies, you have so much knowledge in these brains that we just want to give it. And people mm-hmm. will come back in droves. So those are some mm-hmm. of the main things. Those are the lessons that I've learned over time that I always share when I get the opportunity.
That's very good advice. Because I think when people actually are taking what they may see as a disadvantage or something that they're like, I try to overcome this. But instead it's like, well, that thing could be the thing that you could be leading with, and you could be saying, yeah, this is who I am, and I'm going out there with my message. And
that's right.
That could be the thing that really is making you unique, that you could be really playing on, but they're trying to hide.
And you know what, Deb? It's often that thing that we're trying to hide, which is the thing we need to lead with.
Yes.
It often always is.
Yes. And that's the thing that I think a lot of times women entrepreneurs, probably in particular, who always may be feeling they have to be someone else, to be out here or project a certain image, that may not actually be who they are, really need to hear. So they know that, it's not a disadvantage. You really have to use those things that you do have yourself, and not try to be like a bunch of other people are telling you should be, quote unquote. So I think
that's true.
Yeah, that doesn't really work, but I think that is fantastic advice. So, Karen, we're coming to the end of the podcast right now. And I, usually ask my guests if they have final thoughts. And, I just want to know what advice can you share, with everyone so they can really stand out to be the leaders that they can be?
One of the main things that I always share, or the last message I'd like to leave people with, is stand for something and the right people will stand with you. So I'm a believer that we as women are natural leaders, and a leader does not mean you have to be the loudest in the room, because we are very good at standing for the people around us, for our kids, whether you have kids or not, just standing for others. So we need to stand for something in our business, and the right people will fully find us. And then that's when we truly grow movements. So don't shy away from standing for something, even if it shakes things or it disrupts things. Just know that if it comes from inside, you can't go wrong.
Wow.
That's what I'd share.
That is great.
Oh, thank you. It's great. True. We're also powerful. We just have to remind ourselves. We're becoming more powerful, but we were born powerful. So we just have to remind ourselves and each other, you're already powerful. We're just playing small.
Yes.
Right?
That's
just
it.
Remind yourself of that.
That's true. Wow, those are wonderful thoughts to leave with us. Very powerful and very true. And Karen, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor, and hopefully people take away one or two things and actually take action on it. But thank you for providing this platform, Deborah. It's such a blessing to all the female entrepreneurs who are looking to build, and just connecting us with the right people to help us grow. Thank you.
Well, thank you also for that as well. So, I, hope that everyone will learn from this and take something away from it and really help them in what they're doing in their business, or if they're, right now, in the business world working for someone else at the moment, they can really take all this information and use that to their advantage. So that is my hope, for the listeners. So everyone, please make sure that you share this on social media. Make sure that you give your feedback. Visit Karen's sites. Check out her books, her app. There's a lot of different ways that you can work with her and learn more from her. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. So glad you could join me today. And we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.